The following video has been created without the use of AI. Please support your human content creators by liking the video and commenting something down below. Subscribing is optional. Now please, enjoy the show. Ken stood before his mirror, adjusting his clothes. A suit, something he really rarely threw on. Uncomfortably tied around the shoulders. And the tie, even though it was just plain red, still felt too tacky. He pushed his butcher's knife a little further back before inhaling. There was a ritual that he liked to go through before anything big, and what melancholy had thrown at him earlier in the shop was the biggest of things he had seen in a long time. He even wrapped thick layers of bandages around his bad arm. That's how serious he took this. Ken sighed. Did he gain weight? It felt a little tighter than usual. With a shaking mouth, he put his belt on one hole further away, and pleased he exhaled at the loss of pressure against his gut. Oh well. He'd focused on that when he had time for that. Quietly, he peeked outside his room. Thankfully, no one was there. Going downstairs to the back room into the main room, however, he was confronted by Melancholy and Mud, who were still busy closing up shop. Mel immediately jumped at the opportunity to tease him. "Ken, what the hell?" she laughed, while the butcher and Mud just nodded at each other knowingly. His younger brother knew where he was going, so he just placed a hand on the human's mouth. Mel protested, even tried to poke at Mud's eyes, but the slime-skinned dad held her tightly until Ken left the restaurant. "What the hell?" she shouted angrily. "Where's he going?" Old Ken always does this before a big day. Some dame that caught his attention. Dame? Like a woman? Mel tilted her head in confusion. He doesn't like to talk about her. See, she isn't conventional, and he likes to keep her out of harm's way. But before any big gig, he just can't keep himself from her. You know he's taking something serious if the day before he goes to her. Melancholy tried to go after Ken out of sheer curiosity, but Mud quickly grabbed her once more. Instead of chasing after Ghost, why don't we go over the plan one more time, huh? I really like the part where all I have to do is sit in a security office. Meanwhile, Ken gripped the wheel of his truck lightly. After all, he wasn't chasing anyone. And he even tried not ruining the road and the cars of other drivers. A bit of anxiety hung around his unbeating heart, but he could deal with that. Tell himself he was just excited. Man, he grunted as he scratched the back of his neck. When was the last time? 100 years? 200 years? Hope she still remembers me. He stopped an hour later at the opposite side, on the street to a rather large building. The music was blaring so loud, one could actually get the same experience standing and dancing on the road, rather than going inside. Leaving his truck, Ken's eyes went over the dead standing in line to be let into the building. It was an old prison complex turned into a rather expensive nightclub. On 13 levels, the music and lights blared, with the sound of heavy electronic music with a slow, pumping rhythm. Like the music alone was inviting anyone to take a lethal doses of whatever drug was currently popular, just to feel something. But as he walked past the long line of dead, he entered a side path that led to behind the building. There, on a very creaky stool, sat a dead who was twice the size of Ken. His shirt not even able to cover half of his upper body. The giant tilted his head a little. Ken had already thought about how to get rid of this thing, just for fun, Bradhead could, with a lot of dust. Maybe, though his money was still on the giant.
Levies only.
The thing was just barely able to mutter sentences. You know me, Ken said, just loud enough for it to hear him. The monstrosity sat down back on the chair, and Ken watched as he shoved his entire arm into his massive gaping navel. Out of it he pulled a book, dripping with sweat. He went through the pages until...
Faces recognized, Butcher. You may enter. Your preferred girl will be ready for you soon. Room 444, as per usual.
He had rented that room the day he first laid eyes upon her. Permanently rented it. He owned it, practically. A few times he even had been hidden. A few times it even had been a hideout for him to get bad guys off his back when he was down on his luck. The giant slammed the green metal door he protected shut, and Ken, after he entered. Down a narrow flight of stairs, the VIP area of the building started in the basement, and skipped the first 10 floors of the building, continuing up in the final floor. Only on floor 14 was the music finally drowned out. In the basement, however, the music could still be heard, but more muffled. Only the deep, exhilarating, bassy beats slammed on his eardrums like mad monkeys at a heavy metal concert. He wandered into the VIP section's elevator at the opposite end of a long hall. The lower floors, specifically the basement, were dedicated to so-called fun rooms, where concrete at that were put to be played with by the other VIPs for stress relief. Not like they could do much. Before then once again being thrown with the ocean beneath the gaslight district. Leaving the screams of the lower floors behind, the elevator rose up to the upper floors. Ken inhaled. The entire place reeked of alcohol, lust, and desire, with just a tiny hint of roses. Ken entered floor 14. Room 444 was close by. He started breathing through his mouth.
It's okay,
he told himself.
Don't get too excited now. You'll be spending the night here. Don't tire yourself out now.
His hand placed on the gold-covered doorknob. He entered. The room looked like a high-class hotel room. A large king-size bed, TV. The bathroom had a big, square-shaped bathtub and a toilet with a bidet. Man, it really was good. He sat down on the edge of the bed and it felt like he could finally breathe after continuously drowning for days. He reached for the remote, but just as his fingers were about to press the on button, there was a pleasant, tiny knock on the door. A bead of sweat ran down Ken's back as he stood up, brushed his shoulders and chest, and then went to open the door. He exhaled, as before him was this tiny little thing. She was even smaller than Melancholy. Her clothes and hair sticking to her body as she clearly had been sprayed with water, so the clothes looked even tighter on her. She was dressed in a tiny black tank top, cut off at the middle to reveal as much of her tummy as possible. Heck, if she raised her arms, he could see her underboob most unlikely. Her hips were covered by a black miniskirt, and on her feet were rather sultry pumps, while her thighs were covered by fishnet socks. Long, sticky black hair hung down her greenish, dead skin. A tooth was missing as she smiled up at him. "It's been a while," came a seductive voice that definitely didn't fit her youthful appearance, and her right eye was replaced by a large amber that inside had a spider frozen forever in its center. Yes, you were quite the dainty little thing for someone like Ken to fall in love with. I apologize, you said as Ken took a step back to let you inside. Normally, you call sooner. A lot of disappointed faces, but for you, I always have time. You were a dancer and a toy for the VIPs. That was, at least, until Ken had purchased you a long time ago into a long-term contract. Now you only danced and gave the patrons of the nightclub big old puppy eyes to leave bigger tips. But using you like a toy? Only Ken could do that now.
It's nice to see you again, Amber.
You chuckled. If it's okay, I'd like to freshen up. You don't want me to be all sweaty, right? You said, winking at him. I mean, that comes later. Do you want to watch? Ken gulped audibly. I mean, we can also talk. We haven't done that in a while. Well, I'm out of the shower, I mean. He grinned.
Yes, of course.
Shaking, he followed you into the bathroom. A chance encounter, or more, a chase, had led into the nightclub a long time ago. Back then, Ken was running small gigs, and the Smiling Dead were just still a thought in the back of his head. After cementing the goon Mud and him had been chasing, it was his brother who convinced him to check out the location one more time, in a less I'm on the clock sort of way, in a let's enjoy our time sort of way. But as luck so had it, only minutes before he had sat down at the bar, you had been locked into one of the cages above the dance floor. Dancers paid by the club were placed in these, and for a fee could be purchased for a few hours to be played with. These sessions were anything goes, and by the time Ken got the right to use you as he saw fit over anyone else, you had already experienced having glass bottles inserted into you before being kicked, electroshocks, multiple uses of your body by disgusting customers, and other tortures. But in the end, money was what brought you back every day. It definitely was fun, however. And whenever you saw someone eyeing you, trying to buy you, only to be told, sorry pal, she's already taken, was like a little orgasm to you. Though, in your opinion, Ken could show up more often. You unclothed while he sat down on the toilet, and as you raised your foot to step into the tub, he smacked your rear. Ken! You purred in fake disappointment. Smiling, he watched you turn on the shower, seeing the water cascade over your unclothed little body, the water purling elegantly, drifting over your skin, hair clinging to your back. And sure, you took the shower provocatively, just to get him there. You knew what he liked after all. Ken liked to watch, as much as he liked to touch. So why not take as much advantage of this as possible, right? You purred. So, what brings you here, Kenny? Enjoying the show you gave him, he leaned back on the toilet, hands behind his head.
Well, my little melancholy has created a plan. A heist, if you will.
Oh, really? A first time?
Please don't use words like that when it's about her. It's my adopted daughter, after all.
You giggled, but he continued with the story regardless.
It's an okay plan. Might actually work for once, right?
Sounds fun. What's going down?
That's why.
He got lost for a moment, ogling you.
That's why I'm here. I could end up somewhere very dark and cold.
You stopped moving for a moment and then looked at him. What does that mean?
Hell, I could go to hell.
Without much reservation, you stepped out of the shower before him with a worried look. Seriously? What do you think you're doing? Ken smiled lightly. It was cute when you cared about his well-being, and you knew this was a pleasure no customer before had ever experienced.
Melancholy had a brilliant idea.
He leaned forward, whispering into your ear.
Stealing the human egg and destroying it.
You gasped, slapping both hands on your mouth. You're what?
Imagine, we'll be heroes.
You smacked him. Seriously? You'll all be cemented or worse, sent to hell!
I am fully aware of that, Amber. In fact, that's why I'm here.
He stood up, placing both of his massive hands on your shoulders.
I'd like to enjoy one more night with you before I risk it all. And if we win, hey, I'll let you live in the big mansion that I'm gonna own. How does that sound?
Honestly, too good to be true. You couldn't believe your luck. The opportunist in you had been dreaming of a chance like this. But the part of you, the ever so tiny one that actually cared about the butcher, was worried. Desperately afraid, even. For a moment, you closed your eyes, shaking your head. Fine. I support you. Hearing you say that, he picked you up like you were a feather, holding your bridal style out to his shoulders, his large hand squeezing your butt. Hey, not so hard.
I'm sorry, Amber, but you know I like to touch the guts.
Now you place your hands on his massive chest, leaning up to his head. You're getting your suit all wet now, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
You smirked. Why don't I help you take it off, Kenny? Or you give me a show for once and take it off real slowly. You purred, and then your lips touched together. Of course, his jaws were way too big for your tiny mouth, but still, you pushed against him. Your tongue pressing past his lips. You could feel the strength of his own as you rubbed his over yours. He hummed and grunted. Your kisses always made his day better. His mouth tasted like blood and was quite slimy. With your locked mouths, he waddled out of the bathroom, Ken quickly overpowering your intrusion, shoving his thick tongue into your throat. You gurgled as you sucked on it like it was his rot, thick slime coating your lips, as he threw you onto the bed. And as he was taking his clothes off, you reached for the nightstand, taking out a pen. A little dumbfounded, he looked at you, as you made a line just below your navel. Remember last time your bulge reached about here, right? You mused, as you looked at him with half-lidded eyes that just screamed, "Breed me!" You then made a little circle just above your navel. And since this could be the last time I get to enjoy that massive thing of yours, why don't you try reaching in your record? A heavy grunt escaped Kenny's mouth. His face twisted into a delighted grimace, like he was looking at a fresh cut of meat.
Well, Amber, if you think you can handle it.
He growled as he pulled on his pants, revealing himself to you in a way that made your legs quiver with excitement. Good job for reaching this point in the video. Type in cucumber water in the comments below to show everyone that you did. Anyways, we reached also the ending of the video. And I would like to shout out all of my lovely channel members, specifically my darling stewards. We have Mimi Momo, Jaws, Melofia, Mexicat, Allison Watkins, Mystic Jade 111, Giovanna Moretti, Twilight Mia, Angry Boxman, Hella, Anonymous Weep, and Nicodemus D. Without you, I could not do this. And without my other channel members, I could not do this either. Your support is greatly appreciated. And please remember to like and subscribe. That would really help me out, as that also tells the YouTube algorithm that you enjoyed the video. And it would lead to my video being more advertised. So please do that. Thank you.